Hello and welcome back to another episode of the People's Wrestling Podcast. I'm joined by just Ali this week. There's no Matt. He's got
Just me.
got other plans, but
Working on other project.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's away on other duties. But just because we're a man down doesn't mean that we're going to be any less exciting and provide you with any less quality content.
Show must go on, eh?
Exactly. So yeah, we'll just have to boost the energy levels a bit. Ali, how's your week been? Well, I say a week. It's been what, 4 or 5 days since our last one.
How's it been? Pretty average. There's still not a lot you can do, despite the announcement from good old Bojo yesterday.
I'm gonna say how we feeling about for those of you who maybe aren't listening in the UK. We've had an announcement of our path out of lockdown for 2021, our roadmap, as they call it. How are you feeling about it?
I'm treating it with cautious optimism, like I think most people will do, hopefully. Was it the June 21st date that they've banded about?
June 21st being the date that they basically say everything's over, no restrictions, back to normal.
No more COVID. I think I can appreciate that people need a target and a bit of hope, and I appreciate that, and I agree. I just think when it slips to the 28th and then onwards into July and then onwards into mid-July, I just think people need to brace themselves for that.
Yeah, I think life as Tottenham fans helps you prepare for, or 100%. Just assume the worst is going to happen, and anything better than the worst is a pleasant surprise. Which is my general kind of life motto.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm pleasantly surprised if anything happens on plan to schedule. So
Yeah, and especially in your field of work as a project coordinator. Dates and plans.
I am not a project coordinator.
Okay, or whatever you are. But yeah, dates, plans, I think always going to help. But I'm going to use our platform here as a super mega popular podcast to say people of Britain, super mega, people of Britain, don't fuck this up. We've only got a few more months left. So just fucking don't go overboard, all right? And then we'll be all right. So yeah, there was an announcement yesterday regarding lockdown in 2021. There was also the day before a pay-per-view, which I completely forgot about. Yeah, completely. Yeah, unrelated. Which I completely forgot about until I woke up on Monday morning, did my rounds of the social medias before getting out of bed, and saw the Miz holding the WWE title. As literally the first post.
Oh no!
Almost every month, without fail, this happens to me. It's always like the most important thing that happened in the show is the first post.
Well, that makes sense.
Typically, if I'm scrolling down and I'll see maybe, I don't know, a result of a mid card, I'll be like, oh shit, I forgot. So I'll put the social media away until I watch it. But yeah, I happen again. I feel like it happens more often than not. Well, to be fair, I usually remember when there's a pay-per-view, but I completely forgot. So, yeah. To start with, what did you make of the pay-per-view as a whole before we get into some of the detail?
So kind of the exact opposite of your experience. This was the first pay-per-view in a long time that I've actually watched without knowing any of the results. So generally, I make the same mistake as you.
It's all good when that happens, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I make the same mistake as you of loading up my social media, even if I remember that there was a pay-per-view on the night before. It's
just a habit thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a habit, and as you say, is often the most important thing on the show that pops up first. Generally, I will see something that maybe a picture or a clip or just a tweet that does give away stuff, but leaves a little bit of room for ambiguity in my mind. And then when I watch it, I'm like, no, it's just exactly what happened. But at this time, I woke up, and at 8 in the morning, I put it on my phone as I was working. Don't tell my boss. I am the boss, actually. I don't give a shit. And I just watched it all the way through. In terms of so what I would just add to that is I think that is something that boosts my enjoyment of the show, just that sense of unpredictability. Having said that, in terms of predictability, I think it pretty much went how I would expect. With essentially Drew winning the chamber match itself, I expected. I wouldn't have envisaged Bobby Lashley being the one to help Miz win, but I think a Miz cash-in was on the cards. He even announced it, so you can't really say it wasn't.
Yeah, especially when they tell her off the thing with him chatting with MVP a couple minutes beforehand as well. It just made you think. And the whole lifting of the chamber after Drew's match, you think, when have they ever done this?
Yeah, I mean, they did do it in the match, in the previous chamber match in the night, but that's only because Roman was coming out as well. So it sort of tells you that sort of thing was going to happen, or at least something was going to happen. I didn't know. So the unpredictability bit comes in where I didn't know whether Miz win his match would successfully cash in. And I guess that's where it became slightly unpredictable. I may have suggested that maybe Drew, works something out and recovers, or maybe Sheamus gets in, interferes and says, I want Drew for the title at WrestleMania, so, costs the Miz or something, or whether Miz just fucks up. So, there was an element of unpredictability with it there, but I think in general the show was fairly predictable, but I think it was still pretty solid. I mean, we'll get into probably ratings at the end, but it's fairly good.
Yeah, I think the Drew McIntyre potentially, or the cash-in potentially being unsuccessful, I think probably it could have, or maybe even would have happened if it wasn't for the Lashley beatdown part. But with that happening, I thought if Miz doesn't win this, well, I already knew he was going to win it, but if they were to have made him lose it in that manner, I would have definitely think, they haven't really treated the Miz the best with the briefcase anyway. He seemed a bit of an afterthought and a joke.
Well, he didn't even win it originally, did he? So
yeah, well, as did Otis before. I thought that he has to win this. Otherwise, it basically should be the end of the Money in the Bank, because it seems that barely anyone ever wins a title with it these days. So, along the lines of what you were saying earlier about maybe sometimes seeing a post that maybe could leave some ambiguity about it. This morning, I
bet you saw the same post as I did.
Lashley holding the title.
Yeah.
I scrolled past, I don't know, someone posting a picture of their dog or whatever, and then I see Lashley holding the title. I'm like, huh? I was like, for fuck's sake, how has this happened 2 days in a row? And I read the caption, and then it was something about can he win it next week or something. I was like, oh, fuck that. But yeah, I thought how the 2 for 2 here is ridiculous. So let's go into the show then. So neither of us watched the pre-show. I think that we just discussed. I didn't know, and neither did you, and apart from at the time, that we were getting this Fatal 4-Way qualifier match for the US Championship Triple Threat, which was originally meant to be Matt Riddle, Bobby Lashley, and Keith Lee. Keith Lee in storyline is injured, but the kind of rumor mill is he's basically been sent back to the PC to go get better. So,
is there any truth in was there any truth in the COVID rumors? I know that Mia Yim was back on Raw this week, though.
Yeah, well, she tweeted out at the time confirming that she got a positive test. I think, it was around that time when Keith Lee got taken out by Bobby Lashley. I don't know whether he's still maybe in his isolation period or whether he tested positive, but the rumors kind of before that and since have been that Vince in particular is still not sold on him yet and wants to be, but there's still things for him to work on, so send him back to the PC, but it's all just rumor mill at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it would seem extremely harsh for them if that was the reasoning behind it, for them to take him out.
I can't think of another.
Maybe just don't have him. Don't have him win it. I could get that.
Yeah, I can't think of another instance of that happening where a superstar who's been put onto the main roster and had some pretty high-profile matches, then just within a couple of months being sent back to the PC. is a bit strange. And when you think of if that was going to happen to anyone, why would that happen to, from a fan's perspective, why would that happen to Keith Lee and not Nia Jax? Because I mean, she's needed that for years now.
You get the old Rock's family rumor coming out, don't you? That's why she's protected.
Speaking of the Rock, are you going to make any plans to watch Young Rock? I think it's called the series about his childhood. If you haven't already.
I haven't already, no, but I definitely will be. It looks good, and by all accounts, people have said it's pretty good. And I'm sure
I'm not sure how we access it.
Shut up about it. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I don't think it will be through legal means that I watch it, to be honest.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I've only really seen one review, I think, on the first episode. I don't know whether there's been other ones come out or whether they're doing it weekly, but I've seen it's good, but it also seems to, within one episode, bounces from Young Rock to Teen Rock to Adult Rock, and it can get a bit, timeline gets a bit confused, but I'll definitely seek it out at some point, because I'm sure it could be quite interesting. It's weird. It looks like it's a scripted like interview thing. Like he's being asked questions and then tell stories via that way. Whereas I think from my perspective, I'd probably rather it be like just a narration thing, like Everybody Hates Chris or that kind of show. But yeah, anyway.
I think we can safely assume that Matt probably isn't going to watch it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Maybe that could be an episode idea. Make him watch it and then provide feedback. But he must be honest. Or unbiased, rather. So yeah, we'll start with the United States Championship match then, because John Morrison won the Fatal 4-Way on the kickoff show. So yeah, I was confused personally when he came out and not Keith Lee. I thought it was either going to be a one-on-one or Keith Lee would be there. So yeah, I was a bit confused, but I really like John Morrison, so happy to see him there. I didn't really get to watch a lot of this match because I was making dinner at the time and I had to kind of pay more attention to that. But from what I saw, it looked pretty decent and it got quite a decent chunk of time.
Well, if you say that, but looking at the actual time, it was only 8 minutes, 40 seconds. And probably the worst thing I can say about this match actually is that it felt a lot longer. But it wasn't a poor match, so it maybe, time went fast. But I think it was the right decision. I get that Riddle gets a lot of hate, but this would have been exactly how I booked this match.
Yeah, and I think it's probably, especially now with the direction that they're going with Lashley, I think although Lashley hasn't defended the title much, it's been a good run in terms of Lashley's been almost unbeatable since he's had the title.
He's been dominant, but he hasn't defended the title many times.
No, but I think his dominance, title matches aside, his general dominance over the last, I guess, 6 months or whatever it is since he won it, has helped elevate it a bit elevate the title a bit in that a performer of his caliber, I guess, I guess caliber is the right word. Him holding that championship and MVP at least, placing such importance on it, I think has done a good job for the title, but it's now time to move it on if Lashley's going to really move on to main title picture.
Yeah.
And they obviously weren't going to put it on John Morrison because that was a late decision. So yeah, I think Riddle's the right way to go.
And I think the way they went about it with using the crutches as well is exactly right. I mean, Riddle's kind of already shown over the last few weeks that he couldn't beat Bobby Lashley, which is great for Bobby Lashley.
Yeah.
It doesn't really
impact Lashley.
Yeah, and it doesn't really impact Matt Riddle or just Riddle in that way, in a negative way, because at the minute, barely anybody can pin Bobby Lashley or beat Bobby Lashley in any way. So
that's the rules of the triple threat. You don't have to pin the champ. So
exactly. So in my eyes, it was perfectly put. What it does do is it frees up Bobby Lashley to move higher up the card. It gives Riddle his first mid card championship. it gave John Morrison something to do, and it helped everybody.
Yeah, and it gives Keith Lee an easy route back in to say with Riddle, either with Riddle to say, well, I wasn't in that title match, so if you really want to prove that you're the champ, you should beat me, or go for Lashley.
Yeah, you've got a ready-made feud straight away. So
yeah, or go for Lashley as revenge for putting him on the shelf and missing out on a title match. So yeah, I think overall was the right decision. I think they do seem quite high on Riddle. I think he's recently signed a new contract. I do quite like the way that they've booked him from a kind of wrestling standpoint. They've like in the matches he looks pretty good, and the way they've booked him for the most part. I just can't stand the backstage stuff they make him do, because when you think about it, right, in WWE's world, weed and marijuana doesn't exist. So in WWE context, Matt Riddle is just a fucking idiot. Like that's all it is. Just the way he speaks and the things he says. It doesn't make sense if he's not a stoner brew. Like it's strange to me. So I wish they would either tone it down a bit, or
embrace it.
Maybe make the weed references more obvious.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think they've done one or two, but they
did one a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember what it was now. It was that subtle, yeah. But you know, I agree. Backstage segments with Riddle, I cringe every time because I just know he's just going to say something stupid. He's just going to come across as such an idiot, and he's not even like a lovable idiot. It's an annoying idiot.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it is. It's annoying. Which, yeah, they go across. If they go for the lovable goof kind of angle, I think he could easily pull it off because he kind of is in a way. I'm sure some people would really be into that. But yeah, I just wish they would change up the backstage persona a little bit. But yeah, Matt Riddle, new United States champion, I think we both agree is the right decision. First match on the card then was actually the SmackDown number one contenders Elimination Chamber as such, which there was a couple of things that I thought WWE missed the boat on in terms of booking both during Chamber and after Chamber. But first off, what did you think of the match itself? And do you think Daniel Bryan was the right winner?
The match itself I thought was good. I mean, Elimination Chamber matches typically aren't my favourite type of matches anyway.
Especially when in this current era of WWE, when it's not blood and violence like it was before.
I think you're hard pressed to find a match of the year candidate in an Elimination Chamber, and I think you probably had more duds than hits when it comes to the Elimination Chamber.
Definitely more forgettable matches.
Yeah, having said that, there are obviously some classic moments, but matches overall, I think they can drag.
I think it's one of the many match types in WWE that has suffered from oversaturation.
Yeah,
we get it every year, scheduled every year, sometimes twice a night. We've had an Intercontinental Championship version. We've had some tag team versions. We've had women's tag versions. And we've had number one contenders and titles. It's just so many. Like, it's just too much. And it's, again, like Hell in a Cell, it should be one of those feud culminating ones, or like when you've got 6 real legitimate world championship contenders. And it hasn't quite felt that way in a while.
I think going back to the actual match, I think it was good. It was good. I mean, it wasn't anything special. The sort of rhythm of the match is really disjointed. And I think there was a whole segment of the match. I mean, it went 35 minutes pretty much. There was a whole segment of the match where Corbin sort of just moved from person to person, just punching him in the face, and then moving on to another person, and then punching them in the face, and then moving on and punching someone else. And that sort of really started to drag. Having said that, I think
Corbin match though, isn't it?
Yeah, but having said that, I think Corbin looked strong, despite his elimination. I think he looked pretty strong. Whether Daniel Bryan was the right person to win, Probably. I feel like, and again, some of the moments you're going to get to about WWE missing the boat, I agree with. I feel like maybe they missed a boat here with Cesaro. If you have Cesaro win this match and get a title opportunity, his one and only title opportunity, and have it be against Roman Reigns immediately after an Elimination Chamber match so that Roman destroys him, just more heat on Roman. Because Cesaro is a fan favorite. Everybody loves Cesaro, and he's seen as someone who would need that opportunity. Daniel Bryan has had those opportunities. He's been there. He's done that, and people love him still. Great, so do I. But like the more heat would be on if Cesaro won the match. Everyone loved the fact Cesaro's going to get a title opportunity, and then Roman's music hits, and it's immediately after, and Roman just destroys him because Cesaro's been through hell. So I think, in my eyes, Cesaro may have been the better choice because it gives him something to work on going forward. I won the chain match. I won another title shot, though next time it's fair. Whereas, with Daniel Bryan, it's sort of just another lost title match.
Yeah, it's a tough one, I think, because Daniel Bryan didn't necessarily have a massive amount of momentum going into it. He had to kind of build up around the Rumble. He tends to lose quite a lot these days, I find, which is fine because not everyone can win every week. Whereas, literally, when Cesaro made his entrance, Michael Cole said there is no one hotter in WWE right now than Cesaro.
Yeah.
And I was surprised when Daniel Bryan won because it was Bryan and Cesaro the final two, wasn't it?
Yeah, first two and last two.
So when it came down to the final two, I thought, I think Cesaro is going to win because I don't think Daniel Bryan really needs it. I find there's two sides to if Cesaro won and then gets beaten by Roman, how would it go? The one part is fans going, oh yeah, finally Cesaro is somewhere around the world title scene. He's won a big match in the Elimination Chamber. Hopefully he'll kick on from here. Other part is the fans will go, oh, they've made him win the Elimination Chamber and he's just got buried by Roman. They've completely buried him and he should go to AEW. And then, let's say, what good chance that they will do is just kind of forget that ever happened and just push him back down the card. I wouldn't be surprised either way. So I think it was a safe choice having Bryan win because he's obviously
that's how I would describe it.
Very, very popular and lovable, and it would have been a bit more of a risk from a Cesaro kind of standpoint. Whether they're doing like a slow burn with him, not sure.
Or a no burn.
or no burn, as has been the case for the last 8 years. But yeah, I think a couple of the missed opportunities they had is I think we know obviously Roman seemingly has an infinite amount of pull and clauses in his contract and stuff, and I think that he should have pulled some strings to have put Kevin Owens number one or made him start the match. I didn't like him coming in halfway through, really. It didn't quite feel the Kevin Owens against everyone type of vibe. And during the match, I was hoping that Jey Uso would come in last, which he did, which I think is good, but I think that could have maybe also been a bit of a Roman pull kind of thing. I think Michael Cole kind of alluded to it and, isn't this convenient? But it was never like, that's a confirmed case. It could literally have just been the luck of the draw. And then the other thing I think they missed the boat on was, one thing throughout the match that I hate in Elimination Chambers is someone getting eliminated before everyone's come in.
Yeah.
Personally, if I know it's Elimination Chamber, but if I had it my way, I'd do it similar to War Games when no one can be eliminated until everyone's in. But they're not going to change it at this point. It's been on for nearly 20 years. So, that's my viewpoint. But yeah, the other thing I think they missed the boat on was they should have announced prior in the weeks lead up to it that the winner gets the title match against Roman later in the night, but there should be later in the night, like main event or semi-main or whatever. Then after the match and Roman's music hits, the commentators can be like, wait, what? I thought I thought this was going to happen later on, and it's that bastard Roman Reigns pulled the strings again. Like how much is he going to be able to do this? Because it just makes Roman seem like an even bigger dick than just him coming out for his old match. So yeah, I think they missed a trick there in just making Roman seem a bit more of a dick and a bit more cowardly in a way, because that's how he's been. But yeah, overall, I thought it was decent match. Right winner to get heat on Roman, but could have been different. But it leaves them open to other avenues because Bryan's got an excuse to go after the title. Cesaro maybe could start to push on, and then we got, I guess, confirmation from Edge via a firework display that he's going to win go for the title at Mania. Which
what a well organized firework display.
Could you imagine, right? Edge going, okay, so like in kayfabe terms, okay, so after the match, I'm going to go out and I'm going to spear Roman, and then I'm going to point to that sign and I want fireworks going off. Like, why would he do that? And like,
I prefer the thought that WWE have been holding back on fireworks on the event that the announcement will happen. They've been hoping it would happen like since the Monday Night Raw after the Rumble, and it's been like, oh, when are we going to get to use this pyro?
Yeah, well, I don't know, like someone accidentally points to the side, like Damian Priest doing his entrance, he accidentally points to it and they just set the fireworks off. It's like, shit, well, I guess Priest is going for the title. Yeah, I thought that was a bit strange, because that's the only really way I could see it playing out in kayfabe terms is Edge organised that, and I just can't see Edge being like that. I also don't like the way they've played Edge recently in terms of, I've always seen the ultimate opportunist as picking up on scraps and taking opportunities via that way, not as a mind games type guy.
Yeah.
Like, I know he might have played mind games in the past, but I don't see that as an ultimate opportunist. That makes sense.
I think it's harder when you're booking Edge as a face, isn't it, to work on that opportunist angle, because that's, strictly speaking, that's a heel thing to do. So I don't mind. I think I like the sort of mind game aspect of it, because it's something that a veteran would call upon in any field. You think about footballers and football managers specifically playing mind games, but it's usually the veteran ones who are good at it. And that, I think that's something, a little string to his bow, which I've actually quite enjoyed.
Yeah, I guess that's the other side to it. It's not something that we'd previously really associated with Edge, with the mind game side, and they seem to be leaning heavily on that at the moment. Yeah. Speaking of, how can I do this?
You don't always have to have a segue.
I was going to do something around heavily and then move on to the women's tag champions, but maybe not. But yes, we had a this is a bit ridiculous for me. I recorded SmackDown. I didn't get to watch it over the weekend, and then Elimination Chamber happened, so I thought, well, fuck it, there's no point watching SmackDown now, so I deleted it. But somehow we've ended up with Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair getting the title shot for the women's tag team championships, when Naomi and Lana won a number one contenders match after the Royal Rumble, and Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez won the Dusty Cup last week, 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
The fuck?
Yeah, this for me was just a throwaway match, and I don't know whether this had something to do with the Lacey Evans situation, because that match was announced for Elimination Chamber, wasn't it, with Asuka? Yeah. But I feel like they would have been better placed just putting Asuka in a match against a mystery opponent, bringing someone in like we discussed online. I think Rhea Ripley was everyone's favourite for that. Mm-hmm. That would have been a much better use of people's time. But I get why they might avoid doing something like that on a show like Elimination Chamber. But yeah, just for me, it was just a throwaway. It wasn't bad. It was fine. I mean, respectively to all four of them, even Nia Jax, are all good.
5 if you include Reginald.
Well, yeah, don't forget about Reggie. Reggie just fucking things up. And I feel like I have missed out on something on not watching SmackDown, actually, because I don't understand what the situation is with Reginald and Carmella now. Like, why is she not around? But anyway, this match for me was just a bit throwaway. It was absolutely fine. I don't like it when feuding superstars or those who clearly are about to feud over a title are in tag team matches. I would have liked it less had Sasha and Bianca won. Let's put it that way.
Which I wouldn't have put it past them to do.
No, exactly. It's such an old sort of cliche, feuding over a title must win the tag titles. An old cliche
with a modern problem in getting two people who aren't a women's tag team to win the women's tag team championships. Yeah, exactly. They're the only people who can win those titles. Apparently,
exclusively won by teams who aren't actual teams, apart from the Iconics.
And I guess split up all the teams.
Yeah, but this was a bit nothingy for me. It didn't do a lot for anyone. It didn't further the feud between Bianca and Sasha, other than the fact that they lost. Fair play to Nia and Shayna. They carry on.
Yeah, and there wasn't the thing that I guess I maybe didn't like was there was no hint of any ill feelings between Sasha and Bianca. Right? There doesn't have to be a lot. There's just something, maybe a malfunction at the junction or some miscommunication. I'd seen bits of what happened on SmackDown and how kind of Reginald's involved, and I think he's got a bit of a thing for Sasha, as has been played out over the last couple of weeks. What I assumed was going to happen when he came out with the comically small bottle and the glasses was he was going to hit Sasha over the head with it as part, and then or Carmelo or something would happen, and he would cost them intentionally. That's kind of maybe Carmelo's plan to get close to get him close to Sasha to get her way into a title match that she could maybe have at Fastlane. That's what I thought maybe would happen, but it turns out that just WWE book people like idiots. Why would he come down mid-match with some champagne?
Yeah, I know.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, the booking, it annoyed me at the time. I remember thinking, if you think Sasha's just about to win this match, and so you want to bring her a celebratory drink of champagne, wait for her to win the match and then do that.
I know it's maybe like a Carmella type thing to do, to have a sip of bubbly during her match or whatever, but it's not what Sasha does, is it?
No.
So yeah, I thought it was interesting. I guess they may be keeping Bianca strong, but interesting to have Sasha take the pin.
I think they're trying
Bianca
to
kind of disappeared.
Bianca. Yeah, I felt like that at the time. I was like, okay, well, what happened to Bianca then? Because she wasn't taken out really.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. There wasn't anything big that happened, or she didn't get choked out or anything like that. She wasn't there. So unless that's what.
After the match, she was immediately in the ring. So it's like, where was she? But they could have. There was many more interesting endings they could have done, even with Reginald bringing down the champagne. They could have had some sort of miscommunication between Bianca and Reginald with the champagne, causing Bianca to hit Sasha with it accidentally or something like that. But it just didn't do anything for me, this match, in terms of the feud.
It would have been. It's still a stupid ending, but it would have been better if he poured Bianca a glass and gave her the glass. She's like, "What the fuck am I going to do with this?" and chuck it, and then it goes in Sasha's face, and she's like, "Oh, I can't see," and walks into a slam or whatever. That would have been better than just having Reginald go, "Your drink."
Get a ref just like, "What are you doing here? You can't be here with that. Get out of here.
You can't use that." Oh yeah, I already told her. It's. There's this referee, by the way, makes me laugh. I can't remember which chamber match it was. Might have been the first one. But I've always thought this about him. He's a very short referee, but he's just sort of like a kind of high pitched whiny voice. He's always like, "Hey, you can't be here. Hey, don't do that." And it's just like, who's going to listen to him with these like 6'4", 250-pound men? He's like, "Hey, don't."
He's the man in the stripe.
Gotta respect
the black and white.
Have you heard in football, by the way, this clap for referees thing?
No.
There's been an apparent initiative and suggestion that players should show more respect to the referees, and part of that is to clap them onto the field. It's being called Clap for Refs.
If they weren't so awful, they would be more supported.
Yes, and also, why must we fucking clap for everything these days? I'm fucking sick of it.
Just, yeah. No more clapping, please.
No more clapping.
No to the clap.
No to the... I don't know what kind of campaign we're running now.
Hey, it's multifaceted.
Oh, yeah. We're available for adverts. Should any advertisers out there want to book us? Someone who was clapping at the end of the night was The Miz.
I feel like that whole thing was just an intentional link.
It wasn't. It all just comes to my brain as and when. So yeah, we'll get to The Miz shortly. But before that, we had the WWE Championship Elimination Chamber, featuring only former WWE champions. Shout out to Kofi Kingston for looking over his shoulder on the way down to the ring. Don't know if you noticed, but I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah, I noticed that, and I thought, why is he doing that? But yeah, what was your reasoning behind? So he didn't get attacked?
Yeah, because that's what happened to him by Edge back in 2009, I think.
Yeah.
Because Edge lost the WWE title, I think it was, in the first match of the night, and then attacked Kofi in the main event, and then went on to win the title, took his spot and won the title. So, yeah, good little callback there by Kofi, I thought. Rest of the match then. So we started out with Randy and Jeff Hardy, right?
Yes, I believe.
As much as you know, I've always been a massive fan of Jeff Hardy. He was like basically my favorite growing up. I don't want to see him in World Championship matches in 2021.
And again, he's someone who's come into it with virtually no momentum anyway.
He loses the other week. He lost to Jackson Riker in under a minute.
Yeah.
I'm not going to believe that he's ever going to win the title. I want people in the match, at least three or four of the competitors, to think that they have a chance of winning the match. Obviously, it depends on the story and stuff going in, but yeah, I just never assume he's going to win a match that he's in, let alone a world title match.
No, exactly. I can't. Well, did he even win his match on Raw? No, he was against Sheamus, didn't he? He lost. So I can't remember the last time Jeff Hardy won a match. Probably the one against Elias in that Symphony of Destruction match where he swanton bombed and hit his head on the steps.
Yeah, maybe that's the beginning of his decline.
Yeah.
He's starting to lose his cognitive abilities because he's cracked his head on the ramp.
I think that happened a long time ago.
Well, yeah. But yeah, so Drew McIntyre was he in number 3? He was in number 3 or 4 when he came around the midway.
He was in number 3.
So he came in, kicked some ass. I thought it was quite good overall. I thought AJ looked good. I thought AJ, it was quite a different and quite a smart thing to do, where after when Randy got eliminated really early, which I feel like has happened to him at least once or twice before in his chamber matches. But yeah, after he decided to take out Kofi, and did he take out Jeff Hardy as well?
He took out everybody, I think.
Yeah. So we took them all out, and then Omos just ripped the plexiglass off. I thought that was quite clever. As a way to get him in, and like having it like it was his idea. I thought it was pretty good. Again, you've got these little like 5'6" referees telling this 8'10" man, "Hey, get out of here! You gotta leave." He can literally just be like, "Fuck off."
Yeah. No, not leaving.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought AJ looked pretty strong overall, and
I loved his gear.
Yeah, cool gear and cool way to have Sheamus get his I don't want to say get his licks, but like kind of get to the point where it looked like he was going to eliminate Drew, and then get eliminated before he had the chance. I think, thinking with a logical non-wrestling brain, if I was AJ, I would just wait for Sheamus to pin Drew, and then I would just hit Sheamus with the forearm. Nothing nothing annoys me more than people breaking up pinfalls and stuff in an Elimination Chamber and stuff like that, or in a Royal Rumble, someone's about to tip someone over, so you just punch them in the back. What the fuck are you doing, mate? Do you not know the rules? But yeah, wrestling logic. That should have been in the randomizer.
Yeah, maybe we can put it in room 101.
Yeah, all that whenever we do that. So yeah, I thought it was good overall, and we got a nice couple of minutes between Sheamus and Drew, then having the stare off, and Sheamus being the last one, and Drew being right there waiting for him, rather than Sheamus having to kind of get through everyone else first. I thought that was the right thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I preferred this match to the SmackDown one, and this one didn't feel like it dragged as much.
It just felt more important because it was for the title.
It felt more important because there was more star power in it, more viable winners. Although Drew is really the only real true option in my eyes for winning the match. Although there's an argument that AJ or Sheamus could have won, maybe even Randy. That didn't last very long, but yeah, I mean, it felt important because it was fine. It's just Elimination Chamber matches just don't do a lot for me, and so for me, probably match of the night, but that's not saying a lot. It wasn't terrible wrestling by any means on the whole card. It was all middle of the road to fairly good stuff.
Yeah, solid.
Yeah.
What was the point I was just about to make? One of the things that they've used as like a selling point for this chamber, and I'm fine with it on the most part, is them saying it's full of only ex-WWE champions.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that in terms of making it full of star power or feel that way anyway. One thing I wish they would do is also do another one. Maybe they should have one on the same night, for example, where they say, all right, now we're going to fill this with people who've never won the world championship. Because that's how you're going to get, they need to keep building people up. Can't just keep using the same old people, which is, I think, part of the issue over the last couple of years, is seem to only have the same kind of core group of people who go for the title, and only occasionally does someone push through like Drew McIntyre has done in the last year. But since then, he's feuded with AJ Styles and Seth Rollins and Randy Orton. And yeah, he's maybe with Bobby Lashley, but Bobby Lashley's got an old hand at this point. He's never been the champion, but he's been around for a while. And so, and Keith Lee is probably the only exception who's had a real title match and program, or not even a program, but a match with Drew where he's not already an established champion.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for future, I wouldn't mind so much this only ex-champions or main eventer type thing if you also have Ricochet, Ali, and Cesaro, and Sami Zayn, and whoever, stuff like that. I think
Samoa Joe.
Just let him bloody wrestle, man.
Yeah.
I mean, keep him on commentary because he's really good, but also let him wrestle. So if you could have him wrestle with a headset, that'd be great.
Just do both. Just do both, Jay.
Like, have you seen that clip of Booker T in TNA?
Yeah.
He's got the microphone and he's just beating everyone up in the ring. Just let Samoa Joe do that.
Yes,
yeah, do both of them perfectly. So yeah, eventually Drew McIntyre wins the match. A mid-air Claymore kick, which I think is the first one we've seen. I don't recall that ever happening before. He does some really cool Claymore kicks, and people can take it in really cool ways, but I've not seen a mid-air one before, which I guess it doesn't have the same impact because he did it kind of standing and not running, for example, but it still looks cool.
It looked cool. It was really well executed, and I think AJ took it well, and it was time for him to lose.
I didn't expect it either. I
kind of did.
I didn't expect it just because I've not seen it. If Randy was in it, whenever someone does a springboard, I assume they're getting RKO'd. I don't know why people continue just aimlessly throwing their head into Randy Orton. It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, and quick side point on top rope or springboard RKOs. Does it give any additional impact? People always say that Evan Bourne one is the best one ever, right? But if Randy had just moved that out of the way, would it have provided any less impact? Because what is Randy actually doing there? Cushioning their fall with his arm. I don't know. I've never been a fan of I'm a fan of the creative ones, like when he pops someone up into it, or the Seth Rollins one, or Dolph Ziggler, or whatever. But yeah, from the springboard, after the first couple, I don't care anymore. It's been 15 years since the first one, so.
I mean, they can look good, but when you think about it, really, they don't. It doesn't actually mean anything.
Yeah. Especially when Michael Cole's like, did he do it? Did he do it? Did he hit it? Like, fuck off, mate.
We can all see
he fucking saw it. Maybe he's saying that because because Kevin Dunn cut the camera 16 times between them leaving the rope and hitting the floor. But yeah, anyway. Drew McIntyre wins, and while he's celebrating, gets the shit kicked out of him by Bobby Lashley. Which, like you, I didn't expect to see Lashley do it.
Yeah.
And it was smart, I guess, to have because if they had Miz and Morrison come down and double team him, then I guess when the actual match came, it would have had, I guess, an air of inevitability around it.
Right.
Having it be Lashley, part of you assumes, okay, this is the next feud for Drew McIntyre. This will be maybe setting up Fastlane or whatever. And then you remember, or when Miz hits, when his music hits, you think, oh shit, here we go. I always love a good cash in. It just doesn't quite feel the same without a crowd, does it?
No, yeah, it kind of. I mean, I don't want to say it fell flat because that's really harsh on Miz, who I think has actually done he's worked really hard to keep that briefcase relevant when at times it's felt like it almost completely is not relevant.
It's like they haven't had plans for it, so he's had to make his own.
Yeah, which, that's the way you get what you want in this business, I think. But yeah, I mean, it didn't fall flat, but there's no fans there. I think even with fans there, it was kind of predictable. However, having said that, there was always that element of doubt about whether Miz would actually pull it off. He could cash in, but would he actually win? Because I don't think many people would feel aggrieved if Miz tried to cash in and lost. I think people would think, okay, yeah, he cashed in and he lost to Drew McIntyre, who's been basically unbeatable for the last year.
Weird enough how there wouldn't. I don't think there would really be any calls for Miz to go to AEW if he lost the world title match, but for a lot of other people there would be.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, so how do you feel about Miz being champion again? I mean, I didn't really watch his first WWE title reign 10 years ago, so I can't really speak on what that was like. But I'm very much of the sort of in the camp of people who rate Miz as a excellent worker. His in-ring work is fine. He's not the best. His mic work is great. His characters, he's got his character down to a T. And it's just those sorts of people who, and again, he spoke about this on Raw. His longevity. He hasn't missed much.
You do kind of forget. 16 years since he started out. And when you compare the Miz of 16 years ago to the Miz, or even the Miz of 10 years ago, really, to the Miz of now, I'm with you in that I like the Miz. Very strong character, got it nailed, and I'm happy for him to have won the title. Like, based on his, I guess, kind of 2016 runs with the IC title and his verbal feud anyway with Daniel Bryan, I at the time I always thought that the world title run, or at least challenge, was around the corner, and then it's just never materialized.
Yeah.
He's been in, say, Money in the Bank matches or something like that, but it's always like multi-man type things. He's never had the program. So I'm kind of surprised it's taken this long, because his work is so consistent. And like you said, he's never injured. He's always there. And like, he's got a good look in terms of, like, he looks good, he dresses good, and his in-ring style is safe, but fine. You can put him in there with anyone and it tends to work pretty well. I don't have really any faith in them. It's strange timing, a month before, or 6 weeks before Mania. I don't see him having a title match at Mania. So I feel like this might be a bit of not a wasted cash in, but it's just not going to be that much of a title run. I don't know if you've seen Raw this week.
Yeah.
I'm only halfway through, and I'm at Randy Orton's promo at the moment.
Oh, have you seen Randy Orton's promo?
I'm literally just started.
Okay, well, I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on that at some point.
Okay. But yeah, so far this first half of Raw, he'd been like backing down from Lashley, and he doesn't want, which to be fair, so would I. I also wouldn't want a triple threat match against Braun and Lashley, which I'm guessing isn't happening based on the picture that I saw this morning. So yeah, I don't want them to book him like he had mainly a chicken shit heel, but I also wanted to have an element of legitness to him, which is stuff they've done with it when it comes to the IC title, because he's held it so many times and he holds it for a long time or whatever. So yeah, I just feel like it's not going to be a great title reign, which would be a bit of a shame. Because I think if this was post Mania and throughout summer, he could have a 6-month title reign. It's just WrestleMania, and I don't think Miz is going to be in a prominent match at Mania.
I mean,
I don't know who it would be against.
Exactly. What's the feud other than Drew McIntyre? But then the feud seems Lashley and McIntyre, doesn't it? So, I mean, unless it's a triple threat or something like that, I'd really struggle to see where Miz fits in if he's not champion at WrestleMania, which I don't think he will be. It's hard. Well deserved, I think. I mean, Drew for me has been one of the better champions over the last few years, despite the situation we found ourselves in with no fans and stuff. I think he's done the best he could. Switch up a little bit now, but I fully expect that we'll see Drew as champion again in a fairly short period of time.
And if not, definitely at least in a feud for the title.
Yeah.
Who knows? Might be Lashley going into Mania as champ, or at least contender for champ. I
mean, I
wouldn't necessarily be against it, because I feel like it's been a long time coming. They've always wanted to go further with him, but never quite pulled the trigger.
I always feel like that was a charisma thing, but MVP is the perfect mouthpiece for him.
He's the Paul Heyman to his Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
I think just physically, he looks fucking terrifying. The shape he's in is ridiculous.
And also, he now has a massive fucking scar on his cheek.
Yeah. Well, he went through a period, I think, around the summertime, where he just bled in every match.
Yeah.
I think like every time he went and hit the ring post, he just hit it legit. He always had a cut on his head or on his cheek or whatever. But yeah, he's tall. He's fucking huge and muscly. He looks like he could beat the shit out of anyone. And I don't even remember a couple of years ago when we went to Mania. I guess we couldn't really see it at the time, but watching back on TV, he had like white contact lenses in. I think he should have them all the time because he looks fucking terrifying.
We actually met him as well, didn't we, at WrestleMania?
We did meet him, yeah, and he's fucking huge, but he's
a massive guy.
It was also quite nice, from what I recall. So,
lovely guy.
Yeah, lovely guy. He just speaks softly. He's a very, very nice speaker.
Which I think is what has played against him.
Yeah. I guess I'm not necessarily saying that I'm a soft speaker, but I don't have an intimidating voice. So I don't think regardless of if I was 300 pounds, if I went out there and spoke like me, I don't think that I'd get too far. So yeah, it's a strange one with Lashley because it's always felt like he should be there, but never quite got there. So we'll see how that one goes. But I think that wraps up our discussion around Elimination Chamber. I'm intrigued to see where we go from here in terms of, we know that Roman and Edge are going to feud. I think that was what I predicted anyway, was who he was going to pick. But I'm intrigued to see how it turns out. I'm intrigued to see what happens with the WWE Championship. Is the Raw Women's Championship ever going to be defended again?
I was just going to say, I'm very intrigued to see what happens there. I can't remember what stage of Raw that happens at, but I think there may have been some seeds sown for that on Raw.
I haven't seen anything with the women yet. So
yeah, but I think there was some seed sown for that. And if it is what that is, then I'm happy with it.
Interesting. Did you know the last time the Raw Women's Championship was defended on pay-per-view?
SummerSlam?
No, it was a bit after that. Clash of Champions in, I think it's September, against Zelina Vega. It's the last time on pay-per-view. And then it was defended a couple of weeks later, I think, against Zelina Vega again, if not the next Raw.
I think it was on the Raw, yeah.
And
been defended against Anna on Raw a couple of times and that kind of stuff, hasn't it?
Yeah. So, which I think was November kind of time, but I genuinely don't think it was defended throughout the entirety of December and January, and also now February. What's happened to this 30-day rule?
No idea. I don't know if it exists anymore.
I don't fucking know, but I think they've forgotten that she has the Raw Women's Championship. They saw Charlotte and went, "Ooh, Charlotte," and then Asuka's in the background like, "Hello, I'm still here." I saw a stat earlier as well. I'm assuming it's based off what happens later in the night, that Charlotte's now lost 8 matches in a row, which doesn't tend to happen to someone like Charlotte. But also, most of those have seen Asuka get pinned. So, yeah, it's a strange time in the women's division. I think we can say that 75% of the year. But what we will say at this point in the podcast is goodbye, because we got to go. Been rambling on for a little while. I'm sure we'll see you either later in this week or at some point next week. I don't know. We don't plan these things out really, but
off the cuff.
Well, I can't promise it because you never know. But Matt should be back for the next one, so we'll be back to full strength. So yes, thank you for joining us for our Elimination Chamber recap, and we will see you next time.